Hello, this is Dr. Dan. What if I told you that completing a doctoral dissertation can be a rather enjoyable, engaging, fun, even easy activity? More than likely, your attitude going into a doctoral dissertation and completing it would be much more positive than all those other comments you probably have received from others, meaning they tell you that it's a horrible experience, it's very hard, very challenging, half the people that start a dissertation don't complete it. All of those other negative comments that I've been told in the past and my students have been told by people that have failed dissertation, as well as their professors. What we have to ask ourselves is, first off, is it really that difficult? Or is there something else? Is the difficulty something we may not have thought of? And perhaps even, why do they tell us these things? Well, first off, the dissertation experience, writing a dissertation has challenges, but the way I explain it to my students is there are lots of little challenges. It's not overall, if you look at the whole picture of a dissertation, yes, it can be very challenging and perhaps demotivating. But when you look at each piece of that puzzle, it doesn't have to be that difficult. And I'll describe that in greater detail in a moment. But for now, let's just talk about those people that tell you that it is very challenging and you're going to fail and all that other negative information. So first off, my lesson to you is don't listen to them. Don't listen, first and foremost, do not listen to the people that do not have a PhD. Those are the people that already failed, and there's many of them. Don't listen to them. They've already failed, so why would you possibly want to listen to someone that fails? Talk to people like myself that have not failed, that have gone through it. Even when you talk to people like myself that have completed a dissertation, keep in mind, once they start telling you negative information, well, maybe they're just a negative person. Or maybe they have some other motivation I'm not aware of for telling you negative information. I don't know what that might be, why a professor might say those things. Whether it's because of ego, or they are just simply a negative person, or they want to make it a scary experience for some reason, thinking that you will succeed by doing so. I do not know what their motivation is for telling you those things, but I will tell you that if you listen to people like me who have graduated enough people to know that motivation, losing it or lack thereof, is the number one reason why students do not complete their dissertation. It is not because they lack skills or abilities, writing skills, research skills, statistics even, not because they don't have those skills, but simply because they lose motivation. Listen to people like myself. Trust in people like myself, and you are much more likely to end up completing that dissertation. I also recommend to start early. Consider this. It can be very demotivating if all of a sudden it's time to start your dissertation. Maybe you have a type of a class that you go through during your dissertation experience. Maybe you're just simply out there all on your own, whatever it is. And I say all on your own, you always will have a committee to work with you. But start early. Start thinking about what topic you're really going to be interested in. Start reading. That way, once the dissertation experience actually starts, you already have gotten a head start on that, and you already understand the concepts associated with your dissertation. Maybe you have measures, if it's a quantitative study, whatever it is. But by having a start on that project already, you are therefore going to be motivated to engage yourself in the dissertation process rather than starting cold. Now, if you are someone watching this that is already in dissertation and you haven't done anything yet, don't worry. One thing about a dissertation is you can finish. No matter where you are in the process, you can finish. So wherever you're at right now, think about some of these other things I'm going to tell you, including be flexible. Many times students lose motivation because they want to do a topic, they want to do research on a topic that perhaps is just simply too difficult, or many other reasons. Perhaps it's even an impossible study. But they are not flexible. They will not listen to people that want to guide them to be successful, like their committee chair and the rest of the committee members. So be flexible. Take their advice. You don't have to change the world with your dissertation. Many times I will tell students, a good dissertation is a completed dissertation. You will hear that many times from people that have already gotten a dissertation. Once you have it done, then you can do all the research you want to, but you need to finish that dissertation in order to get those great initials behind your name and to be able to be called a doctor. Also, completing a dissertation is a nonlinear process. Imagine it's a puzzle. If you look at, like I've always enjoyed puzzles, and I'm talking about the puzzles where you put the little pieces together and you have maybe 1,000 pieces to that puzzle. And you look at a puzzle, maybe it's a whole bunch of colored balloons or something, and it looks just practically impossible to complete. It can be very demotivating when you first look at it. However, because you know when you put together a puzzle that it's not a matter of that whole thing, you're not looking at the whole end result. You're looking at each individual piece. And what happens is you start putting those pieces together. You start doing perhaps what's easiest, which is the border, because there's less pieces, they all have an edge on them. So if you put together what's easiest first in your dissertation, meaning you write what's easiest first, or you write about what you know, that can be extremely motivating because now all of a sudden you will find that you got a chunk of that dissertation done. Just like putting a puzzle together. You have the outside done, then you start putting together pieces that look similar. You start putting those together, and slowly but surely you have fewer and fewer pieces that you need to put together that 1,000-piece puzzle. A dissertation, very much like that. You have all sorts of little pieces, whether you think about it as one paragraph to the next, one section to the next, one chapter. All of those pieces, as you start putting them together, you will find you have less and less to do. And all of a sudden, you're done. So that is my best advice to you, is do a little bit of work each day. Think of it as a puzzle. Put together piece by piece that puzzle. Work on what you enjoy the most first and what's easiest the first. As an example, there's a good chance that perhaps you know the population that you are going to be investigating. You perhaps know how you're going to acquire the participants for your study. Some of those things that if you don't know, you can fairly easily, maybe with some help from your chair, figure that out and write about that. By doing that, you will find that you will start completing your dissertation faster and faster because you're writing what you know and writing what's most enjoyable. And to some degree, writing what's easiest. Also, I would think of a dissertation as perhaps maybe even, we'll just say kind of two puzzles. There's the first half, or the first puzzle, which is chapters 1, 2, and 3 of a traditional 5-chapter dissertation, where you're writing that literature review, background, and the methodology that you're going to be using for your study. Once that little puzzle's done, now you have the second little puzzle, which is what is the most fun, in my opinion, and that is going through the approval process to conduct your study and actually doing your study, analyzing the results, and writing up the last chapters 4 and 5. If you look at those two stages, that also can be very motivating because what ends up happening is as you complete chapters, you can reward yourself, because I definitely recommend you need to reward yourself for short-term goals. Once you have that proposal defense done and those first 3 chapters are behind you, that's already done now. Now you have 2 to go. You have data collection and some of this really fun stuff. So now your motivation will build more and more because you're getting closer to the end. So definitely reward yourself, because if you don't, it can seem very distant to graduate. It can seem very distant. So reward yourself. And before you know it, you're going to be finished. That is the greatest thing. It may sound silly, but that's the greatest thing about a dissertation, is there is an end. Once you put all those pieces of that dissertation puzzle together, you finally have that final document that you can look at, and it's complete, and you have your PhD. Once again, in conclusion, listen to people like me that know, first off, know how to graduate ourselves because we've done it, and we know how to graduate students, and we know the importance of motivation. I hope this helps you. By all means, reach out to me if you need more help and more motivation. Reach out to others like me. I do appreciate your time, and I look forward to seeing you at graduation.